Hello, and welcome back to Courtside with GametimeCT. I'm Scott Erickson, and we are joined, as always, by Joe Morelli. Joe, how are you?
Do you plan on shaving anytime soon, Scott? I mean,
Joe, there's a foot of snow on the ground. I'm letting the beard get weird. You know what we're talking about?
So basically, when you see grass again, is that when you're gonna?
Yeah, maybe baseball season.
Yeah. I'm doing fine, thank you.
I'm good. Welcome back to Courtside. As always, please like and subscribe to the GametimeCT YouTube channel. Follow us on Instagram, where we have videos of the games that we cover. We have this podcast up there. And of course, go to GametimeCT.com for all the stories, our weekly polls, and everything else you need to know about high school sports. One thing that we have up there right now that we'll talk a little bit about is we have our midseason reports up there. We have the top players, the top teams, the top conferences, the 5 players we missed. So go find those for boys and girls on GametimeCT.com. All right, let's get loose. Let's get into the shoot around, Joe. We got some news of stuff that happened last week all around high school basketball. We got a bunch of stuff from the girls' side. First, Laya Ljubuncic, Lewis Mills. What a week this kid had. Scored her 1,000th career point. She made 11 three-pointers, which was a school record, scored 43 points in the game, and a 74-71 double overtime win over Farmington. Laya had an incredible week, and GametimeCT caught up with her. Let's hear from Laya.
Crazy game up in Farmington. Yeah. Where does that game rank in terms of games you've played, as far as like just the wildness of it? Like, where's that one rank for you?
Definitely up there, like top 3 for sure. It was a fun game. I mean, we came out with a win, so that definitely puts it up there. But it was just a crazy night overall, super special. Happy I was able to do it in front of my friends and family. It was just amazing overall, yeah.
You gotta like the shirt.
Can I get one of those shirts? Where are those? Are they merchandising that?
You gotta make 3-pointers, Scott. Did you make 3-pointers back in the day in New Canaan? I don't know. Did you? They didn't have the 3-pointers.
I don't know if I made 11 3-pointers in my career.
Okay. All right.
But that's an awesome shirt, and Layla's having an awesome run up there, doing an incredible job. Lewis Mills is having a great season. Speaking of great seasons and incredible careers, Joe, you were up in Mercy. Tim Kohs, the legendary coach, won his 600th game. Joe, what did you see at that game? You were there for us.
Yeah, it was pretty much over before halftime. I mean, they handled Cheshire very well. It was all about the celebration. Tim is not much, as you see the fans have the 600. He's not much for celebration. He's never been like about himself. It's been always about the kids. But we did talk to him afterward and about the milestone.
But I tell you, it's been a great experience. I really wouldn't trade it for the world. I said it to Lori the other night when she called me about this, that it's really about, this has been a great place to coach, and I couldn't ask for a better, environment. The administration's been great, the kids are tremendous, the coaches have been tremendous, and really the support from the parents. And these kids work really hard, and I never get, and I'm not the easiest guy to play for. Some of you guys have probably seen that, and they all seem to really buy in, and it's been a great experience.
That was Marcus Hartley, who came in there from the girls' soccer coach with the cameo with the 600. But, again, it was only the 5th coach in CIAC girls to get to 600. I mean, he is the veteran of the SEC. I mean, my girls' basketball coverage days dates back to the late 90s, early 2000s, and he's the only one left from the SEC that was there when I was there. So he didn't plan on staying there that long. I don't think you ever do, but he has, and he's built that program into what it is.
Yeah, congratulations to him. Mercy is such a great program, and really, he's such a well-respected guy across the state.
Yep.
One more thing in girls basketball. Nicole Riemer from Bristol Central broke the girls' school record for rebounds at 1,032, which was held by Stacy Perini, who is Donovan Klingen's mother. She set the record in 1993. Riemer had 18 rebounds against Manchester, set the record. She already holds the school record for points. She has over 1,200 points. Nicole Riemer's having just a fantastic season, and she's now legendary status up there. She's a legendary Ram forever now. One other piece of news from the boys' side, Joe, what happened with Abdou Toure this week?
Yeah, and after having the 31 points against Inglewood, California at the Hoop Hall a couple Saturdays ago, he was in an incidental collision in the first quarter against a Brantford player. It injured his quadricep. for precautionary measures, he sat out the rest of the game. He did not play against East Haven, but they have a week off, and they're playing Brantford again on Friday. Again, I'm sure he could have played if he absolutely had to, but they're good enough to beat some of these teams without him. So why risk any if you don't have to? But the only unfortunate thing is all the kids people come to Brantford
Right.
to watch him play. I mean, you got kids still wanting to get his autograph. It's crazy. But again, better safe than sorry. And
you say that, Joe. I wonder how many schools in the SEC are kind of excited to see him coming in as a road team, knowing that they're going to probably get a big gate because everyone wants to come see this kid play. Like they're getting big crowds on the road, right?
Yeah, they are. I mean, Brantford had a nice crowd. The thing is again, it also means you got to think about more security and more than you usually have. So it goes both ways. But yeah, I'm sure they're excited. I mean, once he's gone, I mean, again, it's that curiosity factor. The same thing that happened with Donovan. People come. So yeah, I think there's a lot of that, but especially for kids. I mean, and they want to see him play. So they're going to have more chances in February to see him play. So that's the important thing.
That's right. He'll be back. This doesn't seem too serious.
No.
Let's take a really quick look at the polls. There wasn't too much going on with the polls this week. We'll take a look at the girls' poll first. No new teams jumped in. Northwest Catholic and Sacred Heart stayed on top. Trumbull did leapfrog Greenwich, number 3 and number 4. That's fine. It was a couple points difference in a 4th and 5th place vote that changed there. But guess what? Trumbull plays Greenwich on Wednesday night. We'll talk about that game more later, but they'll settle it on the court. The boys' side, Joe, is there anything happening in the poll this week from the boys?
Well, other than the fact there's a good number of girls and boys teams both in the top 10. The top 5 stayed the same. Notre Dame, West Haven still unanimous number 1, followed by Windsor, Staples, Notre Dame Prep, and East Catholic. West Haven, Northwest Catholic, and Ellington moved up 1 spot each because New London lost to Fitch at home last week. And Trumbull makes its first appearance in the top 10. They've got games against Greenwich and Stanford this week. So just Trumbull, a new addition. Hillhouse dropped out. I'm sure things will start to heat up a little bit more once we hit February.
Tremendous start for Buddy Bray and the boys down in Trumbull.
Yeah, I mean, win your first 11 games. You riding Sean Wilson. I've watched them a couple times online. They were my surprise team, an undefeated team last week I mentioned. But they're in that top 10 now, and people will be looking to knock them off now, and we'll see how they are able to handle it.
All right, Joe. All right, we got the ball tipped off now. We're going to get into the main part of the show here. Like I said, our midseason reports are up on GametimeCT.com. You can go see all of those. You can see that Joe and I each picked, 5 top players, 5 players we missed. At the end of the season, obviously, we do an all-state team. But right now, we're at the midpoint of the season. I thought it would be fun, Joe, if we both picked the starting 5. Not necessarily the top 5 kids in the state, not necessarily all state kids, but kids at each position. If you were going to build a team, kind of like a fantasy draft, Joe. But Joe's just going to pick the boys. I'll pick the girls. I think this is going to be fun. So let's do a starting 5, and then let's have a 6th man. It's going to be tough to narrow these teams down, and there's going to be some kids left off. But let's see what we got. Joe, let's start with the boys. Who you got for your starting 5, and then give us a 6th man, too.
Well, you got to start with the point guard. There's a couple of different options on this team, but I went with Josh Charlotte from Notre Dame Prep. I mean, the kid is a double-double machine with assists if he really wants to. I mean, he's very unselfish. He's gotten Notre Dame Prep to the semifinals the last couple of years, and they beat Mater Dei in the hoop hall, the team from California. So he's our point guard. Sammy Klashko from Staples. He could be the point guard. He's averaging over 8 assists a game this year, but he could also shoot it with anybody in Connecticut. So he's going to be our shooting guard. Small forward, we mentioned already, Sean Wilson just surpassed 1,000 points this week from Trumbull. He could be a guard, but again, we're trying to find the best 5 and in position. He could get up there and leap. He's a good rebounder. We'll put him at small forward, which means Abdou Toure is our power forward. Now, he'll probably play the wing in college. He's a wing guy here, but he also can leap with the best of them. You've seen his acrobatic dunks. His defense has gotten so much better this year. His rebounding has gotten better. We'll put him at power forward because you have Jordan Sutton from Stanford as your center, a legitimate center, a 7-footer who's gotten better with each game. He helped Stanford win at Ridgefield. And the last time we had a 7-footer, Donovan Clingan, we know what he's doing. He's in the NBA. Sixth man, I went with Missoni Brown from Windsor. I mean, he is not only a tremendous basketball player, but he's an all-state football receiver for the New Haven Register, helping lead Windsor to the Class MM state championship against Bunnell. And he just turns right around, and he's just a fierce competitor on both ends of the court. He could fill it up. So you want a guy who could score, could provide defense off the bench. Missoni Brown is your guy.
And that would be tough having Missoni Brown come off the bench for him. That's a good team. That's a good team, Joe.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you know what you're talking about. It's like you know what you're talking about a little bit.
Yeah, amazing, isn't it?
All right, let's get into the girls. The girls was tough. But let's start at point guard. I'm going with Kelsey LeMay of Rocky Hill. I know that Maeve Staunton's there. I know that Maddie Utzinger's there. I know that Laya Ljubuncic is there. All really good point guards. The girls always have a lot of good point guards. But Kelsey LeMay has been scoring over 20 points a game. She's leading that team, and she really distributes the ball well, too. They have another 20-point scorer also. So she's moving the ball around. She's doing her job as a point guard. And everyone I talk to really likes her as a facilitator in that offense. Moving over to the shooting guard, I could have gone with a couple ways here too, but I decided to go with Megan Reeson at Sheehan. She's been playing just excellent. She's averaging nearly 25 points a game. She's been playing without her sister, Jenna, who's supposed to be back at the end of the season. But Megan has just put the team on her back and done a fantastic job leading Sheehan, and having her as the number 2 on this team, I think would be really sick. Small forward with the boys, and same thing. Like, there's not a lot of true small forwards or threes. So you kind of, let's move a big guard over there. Nina Nardecchia, she's 5'11" guard, but she can play small forward. She can play the 3 for us. She can light it up from anywhere. She's had an absolutely fantastic season. She also goes in and crashes the board. So we're going to have a pretty big front line here with Nina. And then we're going to move to our power forward, this one was my easiest pick, Abby Casper, our reigning all-state MVP from GametimeCT, having another tremendous season, averaging a double-double for the year on the number 1 team in the state. Abby just does it all. She even handles the ball a little bit, although they don't really want her doing that, but she goes down and can bang with anybody. She's the best power forward in the state. At center, I was really torn at center because Zuri Faison at Greenwich is excellent, only a sophomore. So I ended up going with Uriela Brokwa from East Catholic. And the reason I went with Uriela is because she's done it. She made a state final last year. She scored over 1,400 points in her career. She has over 1,200 rebounds. She's the all-time leading scorer at East Catholic, which has a great basketball tradition. So Uriela is my center. That's my starting 5. Now, the 6th man, again, was tough. I thought about Faison again. I thought about Noel Lawrence from West Haven. I thought about Leah Calderon from North Haven. But I decided to go with Nicole Riemer. I went up and saw Bristol Central play New Britain this year, and I was so impressed with Nicole Riemer. I could not believe that I hadn't seen her play before. I'd only read about her or maybe seen some highlights here and there. She was fantastic. They were playing without Kamaria Bowens, who's now back, but the whole first half of the season, they played without her, and she's an all-state level guard. Nicole, like we told you, broke the rebounding record at Bristol Central. She also has 1,000 points in her career. So she's my 6th man. So I got Kelsey LeMay, Megan Reeson, Nina Nardecchia, Abby Casper, Uriela Brokwa, and Nicole Riemer. That's my 6. I think I got a solid unit there. And I got some size, I got some speed. We're going to do damage, Joe, if this was a real team.
Yeah, I tell you what, I will certainly like my guys in the JCC game.
Right.
Unfortunately, it's only seniors, so only 3 of them could play. Actually, no, 3 of them, because Missoni's a junior too. So, but hey, it's a great starting. It's a nice 6. I would take your team against anybody, and I take my team against anybody and take my chances.
And obviously there's kids like Toure and Charlotte that are kind of head and shoulders above people like Abby Casper, but if you made a second 5 and put them against this 5, you could probably have a pretty good game. Like obviously Torrey's a separator, but you have a lot of kids in the state that are right there, and the all-state teams are going to be pretty tough to pick this year, I think, Joe.
Yeah, they usually are. And I mean, there's so many like Landon Krieger, and this is just so many guys that you can, he's right. He's Robin to Torrey's Batman for Notre Dame. And I mean, Jameer Reed from Notre Dame, and I go on and on and on. I mean, there's guys in Windsor, East Catholic, Sincere Folk. Like you said, we could do a second team, you could do a third team, but you're trying to pick by position. Whereas we do these all-state teams, you're trying to pick the best 12, and a lot of times it's a lot of guards. It's just the way it is.
Yeah, especially on the girls' side, that ends up being a lot of guards. I am fascinated by what you said at Notre Dame. Northwest Catholic has the same thing, where Maeve Staunton is the second player. Zoe Canning, who would be most teams' top player, is sort of the third player at Northwest Catholic. When you have those complementary kids that are really good behind the superstar, that's when you get the special teams. And that's what we're seeing with Notre Dame and with Northwest Catholic. Like, you got to have those kids behind the star to be actually successful as a team.
Yeah. Why couldn't Sacred Heart and Northwest Catholic just play?
They scrimmaged. They had a scrimmage.
How did that go?
Both teams gave me different reports.
Yeah.
It went great for both teams as far as I heard. I almost went to it. I never go to scrimmages, and I saw it on the schedule, and I almost went because I thought it'd be fun. But ultimately, you're not going to learn too much from a scrimmage. But
no,
we're really obviously hoping those two teams will see each other at some point. It would be great if they had scheduled each other this year, because that would have been really fun. I think they would have drawn a big crowd for that game too. But they both play extremely difficult schedules already, play teams out of state. And we didn't talk about this, but Sacred Heart had to give up 3 games.
New Hampshire, right?
Because they went to New Hampshire, and what happened, I wrote a story that's on Game Time, but they went to New Hampshire, they played a holiday tournament, they played 3 games. New Hampshire apparently doesn't classify any game played over the holiday for them, doesn't count towards the postseason, and is deemed an exhibition or a scrimmage. Sacred Heart and the CIAC had approved these games, but had no idea that New Hampshire had this obscure rule. So they found out after the fact, and then the CIAC can't count any games that don't count towards your opponent's playoffs. So then Sacred Heart had to deem all those games scrimmages. So they're only going to play 17 games this season. And it was 2 wins and a loss. So ultimately, it's not going to impact them too much. You only have to play 12 games to get into the state tournament. I'll see if it changes the points or something, if they end up as a 3 seed or something like that and end up on the same bracket. But it shouldn't impact things too much. And it's really just a weird mistake, because why would you think that games after the season began don't count? It's a very strange rule.
Yeah, it is. And again, when you play less games, and if there's teams with 1 or 2 losses, they would probably jump ahead of them. No, in Division I.
It's possible, yeah. New Britain's still undefeated. They have some good games ahead of them, and Northwest
has what? Right, 1 loss.
Northwest has a loss out of state, and now Sacred Heart has 1 loss out of state. Greenwich only has 1 loss so far, so we'll see where they all shake out. Those seem to be the top 4 right now. Mercy's right behind them with 2 losses, so they can jump in there. Mercy's got to play Sacred Heart again, obviously, which is a difficult task.
Yes.
And we've been getting a lot of comments on Instagram, especially, about stuff. And these top 5 teams that we just made, the top 5s, give us your top 5. I want to see what someone else thinks. Instead of just saying, that's wrong, how could you have picked this person, where's so-and-so? Give me your top 5. Put it in the comments in Instagram. Yes. Put it in the comments on YouTube, anywhere you want, and we'll look at those. And maybe we made a mistake. I don't think we did, but maybe we made a mistake.
I don't think there's any wrong answer here. I mean, everybody has a starting 5. People will pick from their own area. I'm sure Toure will be on everybody's team. Of course, that's the given. But again, it'd be interesting to see. It's always easy to critique, but when you have to do it yourself and vote yourself, it's a little bit different. So we'll see how it goes.
Exactly. We did have a question from the audience this week, Joe. Let me see if I can find it there. There it is. Which team has been the most surprising this season? All right, Joe, I'm going to let you take that. that could mean anything, I guess, good or bad. So, Joe, what do you think? Who's been the most surprising on the boys' side?
Well, there's a few undefeated teams I'm surprised, but if I had to pick one, it's North Haven. I think they only won 6 games last year, and they've already got double that. I think they're 12-0 as of this podcast. And, Danny Oglesby, the former schoolboy star from Hampton Hall, played at Fairfield U. He's done a tremendous job. They don't play the heavyweights in the SEC, but still unbeaten is unbeaten. I'm very curious if they end up playing Woodland, who is also undefeated on February 11th. I'll be curious about that. But they, again, they have a nice team. They put it together, and they're going to be a force, I think, in Division III. And obviously, we'll get a couple home games. The team disappointing. I mean, listen, St. Bernard lost all 5 of the starters. I mean, they were in the Division I final the last 2 years. They've been a force in the state for several years. I mean, just to see them at 2-8 is a surprise. They play a very good schedule. They play some good out-of-state teams. And obviously, Fitch and London are better this year. And I think they've lost 6 in a row. And it surprises me that they've struggled, even without the starters. I think they will be better. They're going to be in the Division I tournament regardless because everybody gets in. But I think this will be like a baptism by fire. I do believe they will improve and be better next year for playing this schedule. But it's been a rough first half of the season for the Saints.
That's good. That's fair. And look, teams go through these cycles. That's high school sports. I have no doubt that St. Bernard will be back soon, and North Haven's having a fantastic season. Boys and girls, North Haven having a fantastic season.
Yes.
The girls only have 2 losses too, so it's fun times over at North Haven. For the girls, there's a few teams that have surprised me. I think the biggest is New Britain. I knew New Britain was going to be good. They were a very young team, so I thought they would get better than they were last year, turn things around a little bit, and then next year be really, really good. But they're 12-0. They still have games against Southington and Rocky Hill coming up, but they are 12-0. When you look at the Division I standings, the number 1 team is New Britain. Nobody would have said that before the season. And if you said that before the season, let me know. But there's no way anybody said that before the season. Outside of the New Britain locker room, maybe. And even they would have thought that was crazy to say, you're going to be 12-0 and atop the D1 standings. What they've done to turn things around is last season, they lost 4 games by 5 points or fewer. They did not win any close games. Every game they won last year was by double digits. And last year they did lose one other game by 7 points, but they lost 4 games by 5 and one other by 7 points. This year they've won 6 games by 5 or fewer points. That is winning basketball. When you can play in the clutch in a close game and pull those games out, every time you do it, your kids get better. And every time they do it, there's New Britain kids get better. They have a couple seniors, but they're really sophomore and junior heavy. They just keep getting better. And if they all stick around there, that could be a scary team in 2 years because that sophomore class at New Britain is really good. Really, really good. All right, Joe. We got some games coming up this week. We're getting into the nitty-gritty of the season here. So what do we got on the boys' side? What are some games that people can go out and check out this week?
Well, you have Ellington at Granby on Wednesday. Granby has just 1 loss in the NCCC, but they actually lost it to Lakeview, so they're unbeaten in the league. They're hosting Ellington, who's won 39 straight games, the longest winning streak in Connecticut right now. That should be a nice showdown. Granby is a tough place to play. I'm very curious to see how that turns out. And again, the winner has the leg up in the NCCC and the top seed in the league tournament. Friday night's got several good games and maybe the best Friday slate of the entire season. The MVL, you got undefeated Woodland is hosting Holy Cross, which started out 1-3, but has not lost since 2026 began. Again, they're in different tiers in the MVL, but this will impact seeding, I believe. Again, a lot of people picked Woodland to win the MVL. WCA has been the champion for several years. I don't think they're going to get it this year. It could be one of these 2 teams. The Shoreline Conference also has a big game. Cromwell undefeated going into O-line, the defending champion. I think this game will end up determining who will be the 1 seed, because I don't know if either one of them will lose after this in the Shoreline. And then you got 2 games in the FCIAC. You got Ludlow going up to Ridgefield. Both teams lost their first game last week in the league. So this is obviously an impact for state tournament and league tournament seeding. Ridgefield, a tough place to play. They've already lost a game at home to Stanford last week. So it'll be very interesting to see how Ludlow hangs after the long road trip. And then we talked about Buddy Bray and Trumbull. They're hosting Jordan Sutton in Stanford. Again, it's very interesting to see how Trumbull does now that they're ranked. How does it change anything? Do teams look at them differently? Stanford has improved off of last year. Sutton, again, as I said, is improving every game. And it's really hard to run the table in the FCIAC. So far, Trumbull and Staples have. We'll see how that continues in February.
I had some good games this week, Joe. So you had a slow week last week, so you had some good
Very
ones
slow
this week. Yeah.
Yes.
All right, let's take a look at the girls' side here. We got a few good ones coming up. First off, Weaver at Parish Hill. Yes, I said it. Weaver at Parish Hill. Parish Hill is 11-1. They are atop the D5 standings. Weaver continues to play great basketball. They're 9-2. They're vying for a top 4 seed in Division 4. This should be a really fun game up north, up there. The FCIAC, you talked about the Trumbull boys. The Trumbull girls are undefeated. They're atop the Division 2 standings. They're the number 3 team in the GametimeCT poll. They jumped over Greenwich, who's the number 4 team in the GametimeCT poll. Greenwich only has 1 loss to Sacred Heart. This is going to be a really fun game and a really interesting game because Trumbull is year in and year out the best defensive team in the FCIAC. Greenwich already plays excellent defense. Between these 2 teams, they've only had 1 team score 50 points, and that was Sacred Heart against either of them. So I expect a somewhat low-scoring, bit of a slugfest. We'll see if the refs let them play up there, but Greenwich Trumbull should be fun. Moving over to smaller schools, Seymour is 14-1. They've beaten Holy Cross. They've beaten St. Paul. Now they're going to step outside the conference, and they're going to play Thomaston. Thomaston is 9-1. They're leading the Berkshire League, and they're also the top of the D5 standings. So I'm really interested to see both of those teams outside their conference and how they do. The other games that we're looking at this week, Holy Cross is going to leave the NBL and go play Amity and Nina Nardecchia in the SEC. That's always interesting when teams leave their conferences to go play different conferences. Holy Cross has played a lot better the last few weeks after losing a couple games early, and Amity's always tough with Nardecchia. And then Friday night in the FCIAC, Staples, the number 8 team, just lost to Greenwich. They're going to have a really hard test when they go play Ward. Ward is a strong team. They have 3 losses, but they're always a strong team in the FCIAC. I'm very interested to see how Staples responds to that loss from Greenwich and how they do against Ward, because Ward and Dave Danko, they're always ready to play down there.
Yep, they are.
Joe, we did it. We did it for another week.
I know, amazing.
Amazing.
Absolutely amazing.
It is
cold. It is cold out.
It's cold.
It
feels great to go into a warm gym. I will say that.
Yes, I agree. So,
listen, as I said, our midseason reports, our 5 players we missed are all up on GametimeCT.com. Please like and subscribe on the YouTube channel. Please follow us on Instagram. We will be live again next week at noon on Tuesday or around there on Tuesday. Please leave us comments or questions about any topics you want us to discuss next week. For Joe, for producer Danny, I am Scott. We'll see you next week on Courtside with GametimeCT.